Welcome back to the channel. Dave here, Stance is Everything, and we're going to continue on my trend of me not saying when we do this video. So today I've decided that, as I said in the last video, I'm really going to focus on getting my bed squared up, my fenders properly spaced, and everything ready so I can get an exhaust done. The reason I want my bed squared up is because if my exhaust guy, who's going to be Mike at GT Customs, is using any points on the bed to run the pipes, I want it to be reasonably straight so that when I put everything together, it looks good. So today there's going to be a couple things we're going to focus on. I have my rear bed mounts in now. They're bolted together. I've got a little bit of padding between the mount on the frame and the mount on the bed. For that I ended up using some lining that you would put in your toolbox. I think it's going to be just what I need to reduce rattles and squeaks. That's really all I'm looking for at this point. Next, I have spent some time lifting up the truck, getting everything level. So you can see right now that the bed is not level. I need a little bit more in my bed mounts up front. I figured that would be the case because I built those a little bit taller. If you remember, we're trying to squeak a little bit more layout on this as well. And if I looked at everything, my fender was a little bit lower than the running board. These are supposed to be close. Now this does need to come back. That's another thing for another video. But I think when I bump the bed up, you can actually see how it goes down a little bit there. Everything is going to work out great. So I'm going to pull off those mounts, probably make slightly longer ones. I'll show you what's going on with those once I have them unbolted, and then we'll get everything together. I've also gone ahead and put levels everywhere. So I have one there, obviously. I've slapped one here on the middle of the frame to show that that's level, so that when I'm leveling everything around, it's going to be, reasonably straight. Once I've done that and I've put my bed mounts together, mocked them up, probably not going to paint them before I get exhaust on, just because I want it all locked in and ready, and then I can come back and paint stuff. I have a bad habit of painting stuff and then having to redo it, and it just takes longer when you've already painted it. So I think I can hold off a little bit. I'm going to try my best anyway. The next thing, after I get the bed all squared away, measured left to right, front to back, everything's reasonably square. Like I said, I have some damage in the back of the bed or the front of the bed, wherever the twist is. That's going to make it a little bit visible down here. You'll see that it walks away a little bit towards there. It's tighter than it is right there. I'm going to live with that because, like I said, I spent $300 on this bed and it was a little bit kicked before I got it. Once I have all of that done and everything squared away, the next thing I'm going to do, I bought some bolts. We are going to put my washers in all the way through. So right now I only have about 3 bolts in here. I got that one, and one down there. I want to make sure that both fenders have all of my spacers in. So again, I know that things are clearing, everything is centered before I work towards widening my fenders and all that jazz. That side has a couple more bolts in it, but it's actually spaced out about 1 inch. I want to go 1/2 inch all around and just make sure everything works. So the moral of the story is this video is going to be a lot of figuring things out, getting them clamped down like a good test fit before I can get this thing ready for exhaust. The reason I decided to get exhaust before tires is that I still can't drive this truck. It makes it really a pain. I can't even really pull it out easily. It's too loud. It doesn't really always like to run. It's just, I need an exhaust on it. I need a tune. It'll make my life a lot easier. So I should prioritize getting that done before anything else. And if I get all that done, even though the tires on my Supremes are hockey pucks, I could drive down the road on them. And that is really where my focus is for next year. So I know everybody loves the Detroit Steel wheels. I love the Detroit Steel wheels. Maybe I'll run them with those fat tires for a little bit. Probably not ideal to lay out, but maybe I will before I order some tires just to get this thing on the road. So let's focus on getting this bed level. And I'm not going to time lapse me taking the old bed mounts out, but I will show you the difference we've got to make up, how those bed mounts are shaken out, and then we will keep rolling with the video. So I'll see you in the next cut where I have the passenger side out and we figured out how tall that mount needs to be and show you how I'm making it. Alright, on the bench you can see my very simple mount here. This is a piece of exhaust tubing that I cut down in my chop saw to the size that I read online, which is about 3 inches. And then I've got this, which was actually a spare mount kit I had for mounting my cab. And originally when I was messing with it before, I had it upside down like this. I'm actually going to put it on like this, put a few welds on it, And then this way, if I do need to have some adjustment in, I can just stack some washers on this point here and it'll push it up a little bit, because basically what happens is you have this mount, and then assume that this piece of wood is my bed, mounts on top of it like that. And if I add some washers, it will go up a little bit higher. Think of those washers as shims, and you can shim the bed up or down as you need. And I know it doesn't need to go lower than this. So I am going to tack this together and we will put it back on the truck. And again, you know, this is super cheap. So if this is too big or too small, super cheap, super time effective. I can remake this at any given time. So I'm pretty okay with just zapping this together. Obviously, you know, if you did it this way, that could work too. You could stack the washers the other way. But I think since I have to make up a little bit of space, I'm just going to do it that way. And then we'll have some washers up the top there. Everything will mount up nicely and it will work out pretty well. So let me zap this together and then we'll put it back in the truck. All right, made some good progress. I've got both of these bolted in now. And you can see where there is some variance, where you can see more of the mount on that side than you can on this side. Again, not hiding the fact that this bed is not perfectly square. But I also went through and put in all new bolts holding the header panel to the bed sides. Did that on both sides. Those were all loose before, as I tried to get this thing as straight as possible. Up to a picture of this bed years ago sitting upright at Tailored Customs. You can really see how bent it was and what we were starting with, just to give you an idea of why I'm talking about getting it as square as possible. So now that you've seen that, you can really tell what I was working with before and where we're at right now, and why I'm okay with a little bit of variance here and there. I've checked everywhere. We're reasonably level all around now. I'm pretty happy with how things are looking. I will have to do a little bit of modification to this filler panel just to fill that gap a little bit. Not going to be a huge problem. I'm not too worried about it. It shouldn't take me too much to just put a little bit of brace in there. You can see it sucks up, no problem. So I'm not too worried about that. I am a little bit concerned about right around here. Obviously, this is supposed to line up with this. I think maybe the fender is actually not mounted 100% correctly. So that is going to be my next step. But to do that, I have to put the truck in the air. So for putting the truck in the air, it's a bit of a running around and all sorts of things. So I'll definitely time-lapse that. Maybe do some Benihana music so you can kind of laugh as I run around and do that. However, that is going to be my next night out in the garage. Doing this, just fiddling around with it, has taken me a little bit longer than expected. But honestly, I should have expected that because everything takes longer than expected. So we're going to do that next night in the garage. Hopefully it's as warm as it has been recently. It's about 5 degrees out right now, which is perfect for working out in the garage, and I hope to be able to take advantage of this mild December weather for as long as possible. But let's catch you tomorrow. Actually, no, not tomorrow. Let's catch you on Thursday, which will be the 28th. We'll get this thing up in the air, and then we'll start fiddling around a little bit more with this fender, and then carry that over to the next fender. All right, day 2 of this video. We are going to lift the truck up today, take off both fenders, and then make sure they're equally spaced out, and then lower it back down. Make sure everything is looking square and measuring good so that I can take the truck to Mike at GT Customs and get him to do the exhaust as soon as he is ready. The first step is obviously going to be to get this thing up in the air, and then my goal is going to be to take out some of the spacers on that side. The spacers are washers in this case, so that I can add them to this side and then have equal spacing all around. I got some new longer bolts because I was running into a bolt length issue, and then we can all put this all together. So a quick recap, I know you probably just watched it. In the last part of this video, I bolted the bed down in all 4 corners, got some spacers reasonably well. I am going to work on those spacers next time I take it apart, make them look a little bit cleaner than they do right now, but you know, for now it's going to work just fine. I'm also going to get some end caps for those to keep it from chafing the frame. That'll be a next step. I'm going to probably order those or look for them at some point. But what we're going to do now is take off that fender after we jack the truck up, pull out all the washers, pull off that wheel, and then go and put washers on both sides and try and get everything fit up so that we can be happy with how things are looking. And again, my main goal is really to have this bed in a position where it's, sorry, knocked over a jack stand, to have this bed in a position where Mike can run the exhaust and be reasonably comfortable with how it looks and where it's going to look in the bed. I don't know if he's going to go down the center and come back and exit back here, if he's going to exit up there. I really don't know. It'll all kind of depend on where he thinks is the best to route it, where's the best for sound, and where it won't interfere with laying the truck out. All super, super important things. So let's get this thing up in the air and start banging it all out. I am going to put the camera somewhere, again, probably on my bench, which was a lot cleaner at one point, super messy again. And then we'll get everything rolling. So let me put the camera somewhere and you can watch me work for a little bit, and I'll come back and explain what I did. Alright, we've hit a bit of a double roadblock tonight. Actually, not really, a single roadblock. I was able to get this fender on, spaced, mounted, bolted, everything nice to be able to see how things are going to look. All the bolts are in now. This isn't the hardware I'm going to use at the end of the day. I'm going to get button head hardware to match everything else, but this will work for mock-up. And the Astro is back on. It clears. This will lay out. I've got room for my fingers all the way around, except it's a little bit tight here. Not too worried about it though. I think I'll be able to kind of roll or pull that a little bit more. It didn't hit before, so I think we're fine. I think it's just because oddly at the top of the suspension is actually where it's the closest. As the wheel goes up, it kind of goes away. But I do have it all spaced around evenly. I put on my board there 8 washers is what I have to use everywhere, and that's where we've hit a hiccup. I've actually run out of washers, so I got to order another box. While I was doing that, I was taking a look at what I'm going to have to do in this area. Looks like this isn't lining up well. You can see where it's hitting right there. So I'm going to have to modify this. But oddly enough, this lines up pretty well. So that's not really too much of an issue. I think I'll be able to get this to work. You can see that I can tuck it up there and it lines up pretty good. And I've got a couple of tricks in my bag on how I'm going to get this to line up. I actually might even add a little strip down here to just push it up a little bit. Again, because I raised the bed a bit, I'm running into a couple of these issues. Not too concerned about this piece. I am concerned about the space here. So I did patch the bottom of here. I think it was bent and I patched it in place, and obviously it should have, it curves in too much. I think it needs to kind of come out. So I might actually end up massaging that as well, which isn't something I totally expected to do. And I also have to move this running board back a little bit too, because it is too far back on both sides, which leads me to believe the mounts, so I got 1, 2, and 3 are incorrect. Again, we'll get there once everything is in place. I was kind of expecting a lot of these shenanigans, so I'm not too worried about it just yet. All stuff I can hammer away in the garage and all stuff that's easy enough to film. I'm really glad though that I didn't finish patinaing this fender or go too much further with it than in some of the previous videos you saw, because it gives me the freedom to kind of mess around with these things. If you haven't already noticed, a lot of building a vehicle is putting it together and taking it apart, putting it together and taking it apart. So obviously I need to come back and finish putting the other side together. The Detroit steel wheel is up beside the other one, so that's a rear, that's a front. And I've got the Astro, it's off right now because I do have to get the other side sorted out. As you can see, I only have 1 bolt in there. There's not even a fender on that side because I'm out of washers. Hop on, probably Amazon, or maybe I'll go to Home Depot tomorrow, order a bunch more washers, and then we will jump back on this probably either Friday night or Saturday night, and then hopefully I can get this edited up and posted on Sunday. If not, it'll be in the new year after that. There's my first time with the video. So I will catch you in the next cut, where hopefully I have both fenders on, and then we can lower it down and make sure that everything works. Hopefully both sides will air out correctly and we can keep rolling forward. All right, we're on the dark side of the moon, which is AKA the other side of my garage, and I have put on the other fender. I had a bit of a snafu with Amazon, and the washers that came were the wrong size. Luckily I had some bolts that had a 1/2 inch stack height, and I was able to get this bolted on nice and firm. With this tucked in more, I can see that this fitment is very, very similar to the other side, so that's money. I made some measurements from between here and here, here and here, and there on both sides, and we were very, very close. At most, like 1/8 of an inch out, so nothing too crazy, and I think it's going to work out pretty well. So the next step is going to be to put this truck back on the ground and do another level check. I think, honestly, this side of the bed could come up a little bit, but it's such a minute amount that I'm actually not going to really worry about it too much, because my main goal really was to make sure that the bed was centered this way, so left to right from the frame. So if we have an exhaust that runs along and you want to make it symmetrical, you can do that now. And that was my main goal of this video, and obviously to test out the mounts we made in the last video. So the next step is going to be to put this back on the ground. We'll take a look at everything, make sure it seems level enough, step back, enjoy the truck on the ground, and then the next video we are going to jack it back up in the air to deal with my step mounts, because that step has to come back anyway I slice it. That is something that's going to have to be done. I mean, really, I've got a bunch of various somewhat minor, somewhat major-ish fitment issues to fiddle with in this area on both sides, and I am going to get to that. Also, exciting news, I have made an exhaust appointment. So we're figuring out how to get the truck to Mike for mid-January and get an exhaust on this thing. And having an exhaust on this thing will make my life so much easier. Having an exhaust on the truck means that I'm not only closer to a tune, but I can actually start the truck not in the middle of the day and not always have to worry about angering neighbors. If I have an exhaust on it, it's quiet enough to start pretty much at any time, which will change my life and the way that I work phenomenally. If I'm in a, if it's a weekend and I need to pull the truck out quickly in the middle of the day to do something, I need to do some welding, I need to do something where I don't need the truck in the way, I can start it, pull it out, and bring it back without upsetting neighbors. So I'm super stoked on that. Now, let's put the truck back on the ground, we'll do a walk around, and we'll call this video a wrap. And hopefully I'll either get this up for tomorrow, which is New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day. Truck's back on the ground now, and I can say that the bed is square enough to get my exhaust work done, which is exactly what I wanted in this video. I have identified a few small problems that I'm going to need to figure out. Definitely when the bed is on the ground, the level didn't show everything quite as level, and I'm wondering if that's just because of the way that this truck lays out. I think eyeballing it is going to be the best approach, and that is just another reason for me to put an exhaust on this truck. I can't pull it out right now to see what it looks like from the side because it's just way too loud. So when the truck is off for exhaust, I'll take a look at it from the side, kind of figure out where I want it to be. Maybe grab some body shims so it's really easy, the shims with the little hole in it, so it's easy to shim the front and the back if I need to. I would also really love to figure out a way to get this side of the bed pushed up a little bit more, square it up a little bit. You can see, it's pretty easy to see finger gap there, no finger gap there, that the bed still isn't square, and I think that's actually causing a little bit of issues with a few other things, namely the gap I have here. So this gap is caused by a couple things. One, me fixing the bottom of that fender by not replacing any metal, but just sort of hammering it back out. I could probably hammer it out a little bit more to get it straighter. And two, the bed in this area, I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but this header panel has a bend that hits right about here, and then it just walks out that way. And I'm kind of wondering if it's the same thing down there is causing an issue. So once I get an exhaust done, those are the type of things that I can definitely, once the exhaust's done, roll this truck out, look at it from the side, and see if any of these issues are a big issue visually or not. So that is going to be what we're pushing to. But because, like I said, that appointment is mid-January, the next thing we're going to tackle in the next episode is going to be working on some more adjustable mounts for my steps. I definitely want to try and see if I can get some adjustment out of this to nudge this back a little bit. And I'm actually going to start on the driver's side because it's not quite as bad, build my adjustments, and then mirror it on here. I have a few ideas on how I can do that. I definitely want to do something that doesn't involve me moving the step mounts on the frame because, like I said, to get to the front ones I have to move the cab. The ones on the driver's side, I have the e-brake cable running through it. Those things are going to be fixed, and we're going to figure out a way to make them adjustable in place. I also definitely want to make sure that anything I do doesn't lift that step up much higher than it is right now. You can actually see that the step is off the ground because the mounts are actually on the ground. It would be beauty to be able to have the steps lay out flat and still be mounted. So maybe we'll actually look and see if I can tackle that too. But one step at a time. We will next time get this thing back up in the air. I know I love it sitting like this. I hope that you guys do as well. And I hope that you enjoyed this video even though it was a little bit all over the place. I'll have something a little bit focused for the next one. So hopefully I get this thing uploaded. At this point, it's probably going to be New Year's Day, which means I'm one day late on my Sunday uploads. But thanks again for watching this video. Give me a like and subscribe and a comment. If you have any ideas on how I can work to get this bed even better and more square than it is right now, I would love to hear it. Remember, it used to look like this when I started, so give me a bit of slack, but I'd like to get this thing straight. So we'll see you in the next video.